If disappearing really works, then why do some people come back begging, while others move on like you never existed? That's the part nobody explains. You've heard about the no contact rule. Don't text, don't call, stay silent for 30 days. Sounds simple. But here's what's crazy. The same silence that makes one person obsess over you can make another person forget you completely. So, what's the difference? What actually happens inside the human brain when you suddenly vanish from someone's life? Right now, you might be thinking about sending that message. Just one. Maybe to check in, maybe to show you're mature, maybe to get closure. But what if that single message resets all the psychological progress you've made? What if the real power was never in saying the perfect words, but in removing your presence entirely? Welcome to PsychoScope, where we break down the real psychology behind relationships and human behavior. If you want to understand how emotional control, attraction, and attachment truly work, like this video and subscribe right now. Because today, we're not talking about hope. We're talking about what silence actually does to the mind. When it works, when it fails, and the one mistake that ruins no contact for most people. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know whether silence will make them come back or push them away for good. Most people think no contact is a trick, a strategy, a way to make someone miss you. But psychologically, it's much deeper than that. When you suddenly remove your attention, your validation, and your presence, you interrupt a pattern their brain had already adjusted to. Human beings get comfortable very fast. We get used to good morning texts. We get used to knowing someone is there. We get used to emotional availability. And when that pattern breaks without warning, the brain doesn't like it. The human mind craves certainty. When you were still texting after the breakup, even if they replied coldly, they still had certainty. They knew you were there. They knew they could access you. That creates emotional safety for them. But the second you disappear, that certainty is replaced by a question mark. And the brain reacts strongly to uncertainty. It starts asking, why are they not reaching out? Are they moving on? Did they lose feelings? Is someone else involved? This is where loss aversion comes in. Psychologically, people feel the pain of losing something more intensely than the pleasure of gaining something new. When you were chasing, they didn't feel loss. They felt control. But when you stop, the dynamic flips. Now they risk losing you. And even if they were the one who ended things, the idea of losing access can trigger anxiety and curiosity. But here's something very important. No contact does not create feelings that never existed. It amplifies what was already there. If there was real emotional investment, silence activates reflection. If there was shallow interest, silence accelerates detachment. That's why the same rule gives different results. Think about it this way. When someone breaks up, their brain often goes into relief mode. The tension is gone. The arguments are over. They feel lighter. During this phase, if you keep reaching out, you confirm their decision. You reinforce the idea that they made the right choice. But if you go silent, the relief phase eventually fades. And when it fades, reflection begins. Reflection is powerful. In silence, they don't see your neediness. They don't see your pain. They don't see emotional reactions. Instead, their mind starts filling the gaps, and the human imagination is stronger than reality. They may start remembering the good moments more than the bad. They may question whether they acted too quickly. They may even compare you to new interactions and realize something is missing. But this only happens if the silence is real. No contact is not posting stories just to get attention. It's not indirect messages. It's not liking old pictures. Real no contact means emotional withdrawal. It means you are not trying to influence their perception anymore. And that emotional detachment is what shifts the power dynamic. Now I want you to ask yourself something honestly. If you stopped contacting them today, would they feel your absence? Or were you the only one emotionally invested? This question matters because no contact exposes the truth of the relationship. It removes noise. It removes chasing. It removes ego battles. What remains is pure emotional reality. And here's the part most people don't talk about. No contact is not just affecting them, it's affecting you. Every day you resist the urge to text, your emotional dependency weakens. Every day you choose silence, your self-control grows. The rule is not only a psychological trigger for them, it's a psychological reset for you. But timing matters, consistency matters, and intention matters. If you're using silence as a countdown, waiting for them to message, you're still emotionally attached. And that energy shows the moment they reach out. True no contact works best when your focus shifts from getting them back to getting yourself back. Stay with me, because next we're going to talk about when no contact actually works and when it completely fails, even if you follow every rule perfectly. Now let's talk about the part people are usually too afraid to hear. No contact does not work in every situation. And if you don't understand the difference, you can waste months waiting for a message that will never come. No contact works best when there was real emotional attachment in the first place. If the relationship had depth, shared memories, vulnerability, future plans, then silence creates contrast. When you're suddenly gone, the emotional space feels different. The routine is broken. The familiarity is missing. And that absence forces the brain to evaluate what it lost. It also works when the breakup happened during emotional overload, arguments, stress, ego clashes. Sometimes people walk away not because love is gone, but because tension is too high. In those cases, distance lowers emotional intensity. And when intensity drops, clarity increases. That's when reflection can turn into regret. But here's when it usually fails. If someone had already emotionally detached long before the breakup, silence won't shock them. It will simply confirm their decision. If they checked out weeks or months earlier, no contact doesn't create longing. It creates closure. It also fails in toxic or abusive dynamics, where the relationship was built on chaos instead of connection. In those situations, silence may trigger control games instead of genuine reflection. And if betrayal was involved, cheating, repeated lies, deep trust violations, no contact alone won't rebuild broken respect. This is why maturity matters. The no contact rule is not magic. It's psychology. And psychology depends on context. Now let's go deeper into what actually happens over time. In the first week, most people feel relief, especially the one who initiated the breakup. There's emotional freedom, less pressure, less responsibility. During this stage, your silence may not seem to affect them at all. This is where many people panic and break no contact too early. In the second and third week, curiosity often starts creeping in. The brain begins to notice the absence. They may check your social media. They may ask mutual friends how you're doing. Not necessarily because they want to come back, but because uncertainty is uncomfortable. Humans naturally seek information to reduce uncertainty. Around week 3 or 4, reflection deepens. If there were strong emotions involved, they may start replaying memories. Not the entire relationship, just moments. The good ones usually surface first. And this is important. Memory is selective. Distance tends to soften negative emotions and highlight positive ones. That shift can slowly rebuild attraction. But here's the key point. Attraction doesn't return because you stayed silent. It returns because silence allowed emotional contrast. When you remove constant access, your value becomes less predictable, and unpredictability increases psychological tension. However, you cannot fake growth during this period. If you're secretly checking their profile 10 times a day, waiting for signs, emotionally stuck, you may complete 30 days of no contact, but internally nothing has changed. And the moment they reach out, your old behavior returns. That's why real no contact is not passive. It's active self-reconstruction. You improve your routine. You rebuild discipline. You strengthen your social life. You regain physical and emotional stability. When they sense that shift, even indirectly, the dynamic changes permanently. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes no contact works not because they come back, but because you no longer want them back. Emotional distance creates clarity for you as well. You begin to see patterns you ignored. You notice red flags you excused. You understand your own attachment style more clearly. At that point, even if they reach out, you respond from strength instead of fear. So does the no contact rule work? Yes, when there was real emotional investment. Yes, when silence is genuine, not strategic manipulation. Yes, when you use the time to rebuild yourself. But no, if you're using it as a countdown to get validation. No, if the relationship was already emotionally empty. And no, if you refuse to grow during the silence. In the end, no contact is not about controlling someone else's emotions. It's about controlling your own. And when you master that, the power dynamic shifts naturally. Now, I want you to think about your situation honestly. Were they emotionally invested? Or were you holding on to potential? The answer to that question determines everything. And if this breakdown helped you see your situation more clearly, comment below with the word silence. Let me know where you are in your no contact journey. And share this video with someone who's struggling to let go. Because sometimes the strongest move after heartbreak isn't chasing closure, it's choosing distance. This is PsychoScope. And once you understand the psychology behind behavior, you stop reacting emotionally and start moving strategically.